All right, you guys, the internet is on fire. Today, we jump back into our conclusive episode on the Becoming Brigitte series because I know there are so many lingering questions. Is Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, Emmanuel Macron's biological father? We're hearing that a lot. Where is the real Brigitte Trogneau? Like I said, a lot of people have theories, and I think today we can allow ourselves to roam and wonder these sorts of questions. I see that there are TikTokers that are getting their accounts hit and banned for discussing the matter. So welcome back to Becoming Brigitte. I think it's safe to say that my interview with journalist Xavier Poussard completely melted the internet. It definitely melted our website at CandiceOwens.com. There were many people who had not previously engaged in the series entirely, but they saw the now infamous side-by-side of the photo of a young Jean-Michel when he was 18 years old, taken at an engineering school, next to the current French First Lady, Brigitte Macron. And they were just kind of jolted into the understanding that something was very wrong. Like, yes, you can be an almost identical twin with your brother who you're supposed to have 7 or 8 years apart from, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The photographic evidence became instantly, I think, undeniable for a lot of people. And so now we have just a lot of people that are going backwards and diving in from the very beginning, as they should. I am recommending do not start at that interview and then jump into this episode. We have covered so much. One can only come to understand how such a potential identity swap could be feasible if you begin to map out the supporting cast of characters. That's why we took our time here, because you have to understand who is around these people. What is their network? How much power would it take if you did want to create identities or destroy identities? And we've arrived there. We have finally arrived there. So first and foremost, just bringing this back up, let's take again a look at Emmanuel's family tree. And of course, we have learned, and I'm going to reinforce here, that he is not, at least doesn't appear that he was close to who are supposed to be his biological parents or his biological siblings, at least by any stretch of an understanding of his own autobiography, right? He didn't write about them, just a couple of sentences, but he had so much to say about Brigitte's family, and really only a lot to say in terms of his biological family about his grandmother. And I think most of us suspect, and I can say I most certainly do, that that mom and dad, they're not actually his mom and dad. That's how I just feel about the circumstance in terms of him describing, well, it was my grandmother that first taught me how to ride a bike. And I also find it to be suspicious. Again, this is our last episode, so we can start to theorize a bit. I feel incredibly suspicious about the fact that they're both doctors, that they were doctors, that dad's a pediatrician, and your mom, who we thought or didn't understand why she was involved with the Social Security office, actually was involved in helping transgendered people secure new identities. That doesn't make us feel good about that nebula that is around them. Then, of course, like I said, the curious case of his grandmother, who he affectionately calls Manette. We know that there are virtually no photos of her available. The person who essentially raised Emmanuel Macron, again, according to his own autobiography, we are given just 2 photographs of. Why? Do we even actually know if that was her name? She was allegedly also a teacher. Why is it so hard to get photographs that demonstrate his childhood? Was her name even actually Germaine Aribet Nogue? Did she have another name that she maybe potentially used? I'm taking you guys through my own process here. Why are we just getting these 2 photos? Like I said, while in the past we have stuck strictly to the facts, today we are going to permit ourselves a little more wiggle room. I hold the suspicion that many of the people have come to, I think, at the same exact understanding that it could be plausible that all of these people have multiple identities. If you've got somebody in the family that can destroy identities and create identities, why wouldn't you use that to your advantage? And I also think it's important to think about the time frame. It was a different world. Thinking about relatives that were growing up during World War I or World War II, we are talking about humans moving over national lines, nations changing, literally geographical changes that were happening, depending on who won wars or who lost wars, right? You had people who were hiding their true identities, sometimes out of a necessity, out of fear of persecution, right? You have to completely get IDs, change your identity, and hide in different countries. Well, we know for a fact that within this particular story, despite what we're being sold as the public, at least one side of the family changed their names or had one member who changed their names. And it's kind of strange that the public was sold this story about the Trogneaus without somebody just adding that actually we made up this guy's name. Let's get into that Trogneau family, right? The Brigitte Trogneau, where did that family come from before they settled in Amiens and became sort of like a mafia? Because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like the Trogneau family operates like a mafia to this day. They're supposed to be a family of chocolatiers. They have this supposed to be the sweet origin story. And this is actually the most recent publication discussing their family story that I could find in the local newspaper in Amiens. This was published in 1990, I think it was 1991. It might be 1993. And this was to announce the birth of another Trogneau family member. And it's showing you the lineage of the fathers of the chocolatiers, right? So at first you have an 1852 John Baptiste. He was leading the shop. Then you have Jean, then you have John, then you have Jean-Claude, then you have Jean Alexander. And I'm showing you this because I want you to understand all of the men in the Trogneau family have the same first name, Jean Trogneau. That is significant. It is significant also because it complicates matters, okay? So if they say Jean Trogneau is alive and well, you're not really getting anything there, right? Is it cousin, brother, uncle, nephew? Every male in the Trogneau family has the name Jean Trogneau. And most of them, by the way, to be clear, have more than one middle name, okay? So first and foremost, just going back to that publication, if we can get that back up, that first original Trogneau, Jean Baptiste, yeah, that was a lie. His name wasn't actually Jean Baptiste. The original Jean that settled in Amiens and opened this chocolatier shop, his real name was actually Marc Etienne Xavier Trogneau. So that's just a part of the legacy that they just like made up. And I'm not sure what the reason or the purpose of that lie is. Again, we know for a fact his name was Marc Etienne. We were able to secure the birth certificate. This is not disputed amongst genealogists. So it's just the question of why even start with a small lie about your family's legacy? Is it because you wanted to show lineage? Or was a conscious decision made for one reason or another that's unbeknownst to the public to tell that lie? Is it really about just making things more confusing? Did you make a decision that we're going to call everybody in the family Jean? For what reason would that be? Why would you make that decision? Even, by the way, to be clear, the women in the family also have male middle names. So we're going to bring up that family photo, again, the now infamous family photo. We are told, by the way, that that's Brigitte in her mother's lap. It looks nothing like Brigitte, but we're just going to go with that. This photo, again, to remind you, was introduced to the public by Mimi Marchand, who we do not trust to save our lives. But you can see Brigitte's middle name, her full name is actually Brigitte Marie Claude Trogneau, okay? Brigitte Marie Claude Trogneau, which is interesting, by the way, to be clear, because her dad, as you can see, doesn't have Claude in his name. So she's taking on Claude Trogneau for what reason? Her dad is John George Trogneau. He does have a son, as you can see right above there in this photo, a son who has Marie in his name as well. His name is John Claude Marie Joseph Trogneau. That's a lot of names. You don't typically see this in families outside of the aristocracy, right? Outside of the aristocracy, where you'll see 20 names going back to show their lineage. John Claude Marie Joseph, Brigitte Claude Trogneau. And then, of course, we have our guy, Jean-Michel Henry Trogneau to the far left. And then, just to add more confusion, the people in the family seem to marry people that have the same names as their siblings. Okay, so this is not too relevant for you to remember. You can keep that photo up because I just want to keep going through it. But Monique Trogneau, there on the right, she married someone with the same first name as her brother. So she married someone named Jean-Claude. Okay, bit confusing. And then Jean-Claude, the brother up top there, married someone with the same name as his sister, Brigitte. So he married someone named Brigitte Poisson. So she then became Brigitte Trogneau. Just very convenient and very confusing. And this is why you can just sort of go down this rabbit hole. And it makes you wonder, as I have wondered, is this confusion intentional? Because if you have all these names and everyone's kind of got the same name, my brain just goes, it would make it very easy for you to move throughout the family and share identifications, right? To go in and say, I just want an ID that says Claude Joseph. Oh, no, that is my name. I have a lot of names, but I'm actually Claude Joseph. And so maybe now I'm going as Claude Joseph. Again, I'm speculating here, but to be clear, this image in general is not one that I'm comfortable with because, as I mentioned, we do not trust Best Image because we do not trust Mimi Marchand. And the first time that this image was ever presented to the public, it was given to the public, to the documentary filmmaker who said that she felt like she was interviewing with the police when she was trying. Her name was Virginie Lindhart. Remember her? She did this documentary, Brigitte Macron, a French novel. And she said she had never been questioned like that. She was only allowed to speak to certain people, given very few photos. And those photos all had to go through Mimi Marchand's Best Image. So she's handing out these images. And her history, Mimi Marchand's, of being accused of forgery and extortion, I'm starting to wonder what exactly Best Image specializes in. That they had the exclusive on any photos from Brigitte's past and only produced a few. Do they specialize in Photoshop? Because there's one thing that some people on the internet have caught on, a couple of things really that jump out to me as odd about this photo. First and foremost, that girl on the far right, Monique Trogneau, okay? Look at her hands. That looks weird. What's going on there? It looks like a lot of fingers, maybe potentially too many fingers. Looks like 6 fingers, 3 of them of which are nubs. I mean, maybe she was throwing gang signs. Maybe she's in a gang. I don't know, but that looks very weird to me. And the one thing that I do know about Photoshop is that people say it is incredibly hard to Photoshop hands. That's usually where people get caught Photoshopping. When you see all these scandals, we knew Kim Kardashian Photoshopped it because of her hands. She's missing a hand. She's missing a finger. I don't know why that is. I don't work in that space, but it is incredibly hard to Photoshop hands and fingers. And then there's Monique's face in general. As soon as I saw it, after going through so much of Brigitte's history, I realized, and we can pull that photo up again, that Monique just looked familiar to me. I felt like I had seen that face before. I'm being told this is an older sister, but to be honest, she looks a lot like this photo. Okay. I was like, this photo looks very, very similar. These are supposed to be 2 different people. It looks like, I don't know, how could this be 2 different people? And if you're wondering what that photo is on the left, that's a photo of Brigitte. Apparently, they dug up France 3, came across an old photo from 1989 of Brigitte Ozier. So this is Brigitte after marriage, Brigitte in the teacher phase. And I just find that face is just so familiar. But hey, siblings are familiar. Right? Not a big deal. You can look exactly like your sister. And so I just said to myself, okay, well, let me just see some current pictures of Monique. Maybe they still look like dead ringers for one another. And they're both alive today, so this shouldn't be hard to find photos of Monique. And actually, it was really hard to find photos of Monique, despite marrying a billionaire from Amiens, now a billionaire automobile family. Monique Trogneau marries this guy, again, not important for you to remember, named Jean-Claude Guidet, who owns like the largest automobile billionaire company in France. She just never took photos throughout her life besides that one. Can't find a wedding photo, nothing. And Xavier Poussard had warned me because I was texting him going, how is this possible? I mean, come on. How do you marry a billionaire? Marry someone who becomes a billionaire, and there's just no photos of you. And there's like one photo of her husband. I'm like, this can't be a thing. I understand privacy, but this is not a thing. And Xavier warned me, don't start down the rabbit holes because nothing makes sense. As soon as you start looking at the story, you realize nothing makes sense. And that's exactly what they want, to essentially to drive you crazy, to confirm what should be very basic things. And for whatever reason, it's virtually impossible to do so. Despite the big names of these families, despite their proximity to power, it is virtually impossible to confirm anything. So I just went ahead and I left it alone. But there's one thing that I find that makes entirely no sense, and it's very strange. And I would very much like to invite the public to jump in on this incredible mystery, okay? So many of you had suspected that these families might all be related. Are the Oziers, the Trogneaus, and the Macrons all just from the same family? Is there a chance that Brigitte Macron, some of you asked, is actually the father of Emmanuel Macron? Now, to be clear, I had never made that statement because I wanted to keep this series factual and to pull away from my gut and to be like Xavier and to only go with the documents and the things that we could confirm. But there is obviously a lot going on here, a lot of evidence which suggests and points to the conclusion that the secret seems to be bigger than just having a transgendered wife, right? I mean, think back to the moments that we went over here of President Emmanuel Macron looking to his wife, Brigitte, for answers, basic answers about the biographical background of his family. Remember that scene we told you about when he was speaking to a politician and the politician was like, yo, your sister lives near here. Where does she live? And Emmanuel freezes up and looks to Brigitte. Why don't you know where your sister lives, Emmanuel? What's going on here? Why does it feel like there is this relationship where maybe you and Brigitte's your, I don't know, more than a wife for sure, to be sure. Why does it feel like Brigitte is sort of holding your hand? Why does it feel like you've always had your hand held by people that are more powerful than you? We definitely know and have confirmed, like we did in the last episode, that he had his hand held through his career by David de Rothschild, a family that is known and is on record as having practiced incest. Okay? Why and how did Emmanuel Macron get so close to the Rothschilds? So close that his colleagues said this dude didn't even know what EBITDA meant, and yet he became the youngest managing partner. We understood that whatever it was, David Rothschild was holding his hand. You just couldn't question the power that he was being given, and we would laugh at him in meetings because he knew nothing about finance. Why did David Rothschild see to it that Emmanuel had his hand held? Vice is nice, but incest is best because it stays in the family. That is a direct quote from David de Rothschild's cousin, Natalie Reams Rothschild. And in case you don't believe me, here is a clip of her saying that, by the way. Take a listen.
Puis comme on faisait très souvent dans ces familles-là, vice is nice, but incest is best because it stays in the family.
She said it in English. She switched right over from French and said, this is what we say in our family. Vice is nice, but incest is best. Then there was a biography which was written by author Natalie Livingston, which was entitled The Women of Rothschild, which sort of revealed the maniacal desire that the Rothschild family had to maintain their fortune and their power in the world, a desire that was so maniacal that they practiced family incest. That is just undeniable. It is a fact, okay? And allegedly, they did this only until it was no longer socially acceptable, right up until the late 19th century, you guys, right before we get into this Trogneau family. It's just amazing. They said, no more, no more. And what's interesting in this book is that Natalie Livingston documents that the reason for this is the original Rothschild, Mayer Amschel Rothschild's will. She says, quote, "It goes back to that will. In it, Mayer Amschel Rothschild said that nothing was more important than the family, and that meant at any cost. It was about preserving the unity of the bank and the integrity of the name. There's no question endogamy can't have been great. For example, there's an enormous amount of mental health issues that ran in the family. I can't believe there's not a correlation between endogamous matches and the issues of mental health. She then even discusses how that mentality within the family was so strong that they believe that any woman who stepped outside of the family in terms of who she married was cursed. Like, you are cursed because you did not marry your cousin, brother, uncle, whatever it is. So, of course, your brain wanders and you begin to think naturally in this story, why did David de Rothschild pluck up Macron? A guy who his colleagues said did not even know what EBITDA was, and yet David Rothschild moved to make him the youngest managing partner in the bank's history, okay? A bank's goal is to make profit. If you're a Rothschild, you care about making profit. Of course, if you care, especially in a maniacal sense, about making sure that your power is not lost in the world, the last thing you're going to do is pluck up some obscure guy who knows nothing and pull him through the ranks. You would only step outside of that obvious goal of wanting the bank to make money if there was something more important to money, and that would be power, right? And you would only do that if nepotism was going on, in my view. You're like, I'm pulling you through the ranks because you are related to me. And what matters more to me is that this bank and whatever it is that you do maintains within the family. You give someone a job not because they're qualified in that sense, but because they are your family member, right? How and why did David de Rothschild get so close to the Macron family of doctors and the Trogneux family of chocolatiers, right? How? What I can tell you, and again, we are now being purely speculative, is that my instinct, my personal instinct, has always been that if you were going to inbreed, a father-son relationship might actually be too close. I always felt that if it took place, we would be looking for an uncle. I feel like that's just like a standard story, like an uncle molesting a child feels like that's what my brain instantly does, what my brain instantly searches for. And it turns out, you guys, you are not going to believe me, but this pattern of similar names in every family and the family members also extends to the Macron family. Remember, there are no photos known to date of Emmanuel Macron with his parents growing up. That is insane, okay? We do know that his father, the person that they tell us is his father, his name is, of course, Jean-Michel Macron. But there's another Jean-Michel that we haven't mentioned yet, and he's perhaps the most important one. Uncle Jean-Michel Nogue. Now let's add him to the Emmanuel family tree so you guys can get a visual here, okay? So his dad is Jean-Michel. His mom is Francois Nogue. Well, Francois Nogue has a brother and had a brother. As you can see, he died in 2006, and his name was Jean-Michel Nogue. Okay, that was of interest to me. Again, I'm going down the rabbit hole. I just want to identify who is who. Okay, he is the brother of Dr. Francis Nogue, the one who helps transgendered individuals get new IDs. Okay, amazing. And also, she said, as we pointed out, that to her, Brigitte is not a daughter-in-law. Huh? What is she to you? Okay, let's just keep going down this rabbit hole. Well, the funny thing is that Emmanuel Macron did not follow the normal course of Catholicism, okay? He was not baptized as a child. In fact, his parents are not religious. He chose himself to be baptized at the age of 12 while he was at the La Providence school. So 2 years before he met the love of his life, Brigitte, he decided to make a decision, which is, I mean, that's amazing, right? I want to be baptized. And that's a weird thing. I think it's a remarkable thing, rather not a weird thing, a remarkable thing for a 12-year-old to do without parental guidance. But what's interesting, in that what we haven't mentioned before, is that he chose his uncle, Jean-Michel, to be his godfather when he got baptized, okay? So baptisms are not supposed to be just like an act of vanity. I know today they've become them. I'm just going to pick a godfather or a godmother, and actually I have no faith in God, no faith in religion. I just think it would be cool or whatever. That's kind of the modern interpretation. Now, this has significant spiritual meaning. This person is supposed to be selected to be the person to guide you spiritually throughout the rest of your life. If something were to happen to you, this is a person that your parents would entrust. If something were to happen to your parents, this is supposed to be an individual that your parents would entrust to guide you spiritually for the rest of your life. Emmanuel Macron picked Jean-Michel Nogue, his uncle, okay? I'm going to read this directly from Xavier Poussard's book. He wrote, quote, "A character in particular caught our attention. Emmanuel Macron's maternal uncle, Jean-Michel Nogue. He was important. Emmanuel Macron chose him as his godfather when he decided to be baptized. The role of the godmother obviously fell to Manette. Born on December 25th, 1940 in Nièvre, and died on October 6, 2006 in Amiens, Jean-Michel Nogue was not some general practitioner. He was a prominent member of the board of the Faculty of Medicine of Amiens, as indicated by his obituary published by his colleagues in Le Courrier Picard. Remember, that's the newspaper in Amiens. He was also the chairman of Domus Medica, a non-trading real estate company, bringing together numerous of local healthcare professional organizations. Then he gets into, these are just French for the council department, blah, blah, blah. So this was an important man. He's a huge figure. So I thought, surely this man, Uncle Jean-Michel, must be photographed somewhere. Maybe a photo of him and Emmanuel at the baptism day. Maybe at La Providence. I don't know. Maybe on Emmanuel Macron's wedding day to Brigitte. Surely we can find a photo of this guy within medical circles, okay? And you're not going to believe this, guys. And of course you're going to believe it. First and foremost, he died in 2006, the year before Emmanuel Macron got married to the love of his whole entire life, Brigitte. And regarding photos, of course, Xavier Poussard attempted to secure them. He specifically went to the archives of the Faculty of Medicine, where Uncle Jean-Michel worked in Amiens and built up such a remarkable reputation for himself. And guess what? For whatever reason, they refused the request. So we don't have any photos of him. He died in 2006. And we don't have any photos from him from when he was alive and was clearly very active in Emmanuel's life. And I don't know why Emmanuel didn't dedicate an entire chapter to him, his uncle, who he was so close to spiritually, his leader. You know, that's not something you just forget, right? It's the person who you believe is going to spiritually guide you throughout the rest of your life. You know, you're attending a Catholic school. You would know the significance of such a meaning. Why did you pick him? This means nothing. It could mean nothing, guys. It could mean everything, okay? It just, again, more than anything, demonstrates the unbelievably, unnecessarily secretive nature that surrounds this family. People exist on paper. They don't exist in photos, and then they disappear, right? You have to imagine, by the way, that Uncle Jean-Michel would have been living in Amiens at the same time that Jean-Michel Trogneau would have been living in Amiens throughout his marriage with the woman that he married. And I'm totally blanking on her name. Who did Jean-Michel Trogneau marry? Veronique Drew. Yeah, they were all just in this little close community. You'd have to imagine that, right? At the same time, but who knows? They both just kind of disappear into thin air. Anyways, this is just what happens when you look into things. They debunk nothing, by the way. If you ask, hey, could you just clarify that? Can we get a photo here? They instead wait for everyone who's investigating this to make a mistake, and then they sue people. Make a mistake while you're asking meaningful questions, and you are going to get sued if you live in France. Worse, you could be in prison. People have been imprisoned for looking into the story, arrested for looking into the story. Xavier is correct. It is meant to drive everyone crazy, jumping through 1,000 rabbit holes. And speaking of rabbit holes, we should now discuss more thoroughly the little chubster, the little fat one, as Xavier calls him, recently presented by the media as proof that Jean-Michel exists. Listen, I want to be very clear. I have no doubt in my mind that a Jean-Michel exists in Amiens. It seems like that's just everyone's name. Everybody's Jean-Michel. So do not color me shocked when they say, we have found a Jean-Michel. I've already found about 6 of them. Now you're probably thinking, Candace, yeah, there's just too many Jean-Michels in every side of this family. I'm not quite sure what to trust. Well, we at least have to try to understand who this little chubby guy is and if he is indeed the same Jean-Michel that is pictured in the initial Trogneau family photo. First, just want to throw it to some of our sponsors. Jacked Up Fitness is one of them. With RFK Jr.'s historic confirmation, the Make America Healthy Again movement is finally here. That's why I am so excited to tell you all about Jacked Up Fitness. George and I are moving soon, and we cannot wait to have a full home gym that's going to be set up from these guys. With our busy schedule, we are so looking forward to the convenience of having that full gym experience right in our own home. The Jacked Up Power Rack Pro is a commercial-grade all-in-one home gym that has everything that you need to get a full body workout in your garage or your spare room. And get this, I just heard from the Jacked Up team that RFK Jr. himself is getting a Jacked Up Power Rack Pro installed in his new office in DC, so he can keep his own workouts going while leading the Make America Healthy Again initiative for all of us. The Power Rack Pro package comes with a full set of their branded rubber weight plates and a fully adjustable incline and decline bench. So if you're new to weight training, do not worry. They have full body video workouts that you can literally just press play and follow along. So no more excuses. Get your dream home gym today at getjackedup.com, and you can use promo code Candace and you'll save 10% on your entire purchase. Build muscle, burn fat, start your fitness journey today at getjackedup.com with promo code Candace. Also, I know there are tons of you that are tired of your high monthly payments just to have a cell phone. Well, it's time to ditch your overpriced big wireless contract and visit my friends at Pure Talk, because you don't need to pay $100 a month just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, which is my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices. With a qualifying plan, you can choose an iPhone 14 or a Samsung Galaxy for $0. And yes, this is for premium service on America's most dependable 5G network. So get your iPhone 14 or your Samsung Galaxy for $0 with a qualifying plan by going to puretalk.com/Owens. You can make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. There's no hassle, no gimmicks, just honest to goodness wireless priced right. Visit puretalk.com/Owens to claim your new iPhone or Galaxy with qualifying purchase. From Pure Talk, America's wireless company, that's puretalk.com/Owens for details. All right, now let's jump back into this. Let's try to identify the little fat one, the little chubster, okay? Now, it's important that I keep reminding you that the public is being gaslit in a manner that would make even Sigmund Freud blush. He was the father of gaslighting, okay? Gaslit little kids. We'll get into that another day. It is so easy to simply present photos of the current First Lady throughout the 80s, or photos of her with her brother, Jean-Michel, at any point throughout her entire life. Okay, it's so easy. Don't let the media gaslight you and pretend this is crazy. It is the exact opposite. They are being crazy by not just putting all of this to rest. Even if her very active and photographed teaching years, even if she found some throughout her very active and photographed teaching years of her and Jean-Michel together, I'd be like, okay, cool. There is only one massive family reunion photo that I could find since that family photo that was taken in the 1950s in Amiens. And this photo was actually published in 1991 in a German magazine, and I'm going to show it to you. Now, you can see on the right there, we have got Brigitte, now Brigitte Ozier, and missing from this photo is Jean-Michel. There's no Jean-Michel in this photo, and it was allegedly them all getting together to celebrate the 50th wedding anniversary of the father, Jean-Georges Trogneau, and his wife, Simone. So why would you not have all of the siblings there that are alive? Doesn't that seem like quite the event to miss? Just be like we should very easily be able to say that the siblings are all here because you don't just miss your parents' 50th in 1991. We know that Jean-Michel has never died on paper, okay? He's never died on paper. He is still alive, according to Brigitte Macron, but what he does, what he has been doing, what his career is, nobody knows. Nobody knows. We are told in one book by one journalist who found it to be very suspicious when she went out to investigate this circumstance, Emmanuel Anizan, that she was told in Amiens that he just plays cards with his friends. I guess he's just a private guy who never left Amiens. That's what we're supposed to believe. He never left Amiens after his divorce from Veronique Drew. Now he's just kind of like retired and playing cards in a cafe with his friends. Okay, nobody really knows what he's been up to. So with questions that were then reaching a fever pitch amongst the French public when they realized that for whatever reason, this brother had been sort of left out of Brigitte's story. And now they're being told that, well, him and Brigitte were so close that at his wedding, she signed, at his very private wedding to Veronique Drew, she signed on as the witness. And also at her wedding, he was the best man. People are going, what's going on here? Where is this person? Suddenly, the media had to start making up some answers. And the answer that they provided was, oh, a little chubby guy. As I discussed with Xavier Poussard, we are told that this guy is the extraordinarily private Jean-Michel, all grown up. Now, I can tell you right off the bat, in case you're wondering, the World Economic Forum Chinese software program says, no, that is not the Jean-Michel that we are looking for, of a little boy in the photo. I can show you this match right here. The confidence is 54%. Now, Xavier does say that when it comes to glasses, just to be super clear with you guys, that the technology doesn't want you to use two people that are wearing glasses, or glasses in general. They do caution can sometimes shade the face in a different way. But you can see here when we're showing you this, we're talking 52% confidence on the little chubby one next to him. Anyways, it would be easier, rather than having to use technology, if the Élysée Palace just came right out and said, yes, this is actually Jean-Michel Trogneau, the one you've been looking for, the same one pictured in that 1953 family photo from Amiens. It's such an easy thing to say, but that's not their thing. Clarity is not their thing. Ease is not their thing. Hush, hush, be quiet, threat, sue is their thing. So instead, just to be clear, in the initial letter that they sent me, the 100-page letter of an opportunity, really, to say to me, do not publish your series. I am telling you that this Jean-Michel that you're looking for, that little boy on the left, is alive and well, and they could have just provided me photos of his missing years. They decided to squander away that opportunity by instead sending me screenshots of the little chupster at the inauguration of Emmanuel Macron. This is what they sent me. This is the exact language. What's more, Jean-Michel has recently appeared in public. He attended President Macron's inauguration in 2017 and 2022. During your June 12th, 2024 appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored, you bet Piers Morgan $100,000 that he could not find a photo of Jean-Michel Trogneau, implying that this would disprove your false claims. Below are publicly available images of Jean-Michel Trogneau from videos of President Macron's 2017 and 2022 inauguration. You will see that not only is Jean-Michel present, but also in the same frame as Brigitte Macron. The conclusive evidence that you have been seeking to debunk your claims. Okay, so this is amazing. Keep that up for a second, okay? It's amazing for a lot of reasons. It's amazing that the Élysée Palace, rather than giving us a document, a passport with things blacked out, but maybe just his name, a driver's license, anything that would be a form of ID, photos of them together growing up, because this is our problem, is sending me screenshots of an inauguration with the guy in the background. Aha, it's debunked. Jean-Michel exists. Like I said, 27 of them exists. I have no doubt that a Jean-Michel Trogneau exists somewhere in Amiens. In fact, there's probably 20 of them. But of course, they mistook me for a fool. Okay, I've already been made wise to their game, so to speak, names, and it's all about how you phrase the questions. It means nothing to tell me that a Jean-Michel exists, but it would mean everything if they simply spelled out an answer to a basic question about who they are claiming is Jean-Michel. So we went back to them with an exact question so there could have been no remaining confusion. We were clear. We will publish the truth. Here is the wording that we wrote in our letter back. Because the Macrons dispute the substance of Candace's reporting and opinions, we would like to provide them with the opportunity to present their stories and to clear up any rumors in the press. As such, we offer any date and time during the months of January, February, and March of 2025 for an interview between Candace and your clients. Candace, her producer, and a videographer will fly to Europe and arrange for a translator and studio in which the Macrons can answer questions. As you know, the first remedy for a defamation plaintiff is mitigation by using available opportunities to contradict the lie or correct the error, and thereby to minimize its adverse impact on reputation. We are providing such an opportunity. To facilitate this interview, we offer the following questions in advance. So we gave them this opportunity weeks before we began this series to answer a specific question about Jean-Michel at the inauguration. And here is the question we asked. I draw your attention to number 3. Is the man you showed at President Macron's inaugurations in 2017 and 2022 the same individual pictured on the far left in the Trogneau family photograph from Owens? Yeah, I'm awake to your game, okay? Don't tell me names. Tell me, is this the same person? And of course, you guys, we never heard back. They had the energy and the frustration to write the letter and say it's a lie. And we gave them a runway of 2 weeks to say, just give us a yes or no to this. And I promise you, okay, hand to God on my children's lives, if they had answered and said, yes, this is him, I would be reporting that information today, because I'm not interested in jumping down this rabbit hole for the purpose of spinning a conspiracy theory, okay? There is something very wrong with this family. And perhaps the biggest thing that is wrong with this family is their refusal to answer basic questions while pretending that they're being victimized by the questions at the exact same time. It is bad faith acting. Plain and simple, bad faith acting. So with no response from them at all, suddenly them going mum on answering these very basic yes or no questions, we decided to instead turn to try to identify the guy with the inauguration footage. What is this screenshot? They gave us in their notations a YouTube link, hours of footage from the inauguration, and we decided to scrub through it. Okay, Élysée Palace legal team, we will raise to the challenge and look through this. Maybe there is this familial vibe we can pick up on. First thing that I should note is that in both of these inaugurations, the Jean-Michel is not standing with the family for Macron's speeches, okay? Not at either inauguration. In the 2017 inauguration, here's a still. He is standing with a bunch of priests, okay? And when you watch the footage, the family is all walking together as they go down the line and say hi to people. And Laurent, that would be Brigitte's quote unquote daughter, speaks to him very briefly. They're all saying hi. It's like you got to kind of walk through and say hi. The family is walking down, and he's greeted 2 kisses on the cheek by Emmanuel Macron, but he's not standing with his family. Maybe he showed up late, right? Maybe he just showed up too late, got ushered in. Okay, fine. But that can't happen twice, right? Something that's also interesting is that Jean-Claude, his alleged big brother, who he wasn't standing with or anything, was also present on this inauguration day. And yet Jean-Claude, at the luncheon which followed this speech, was seated at a table with his siblings. He was seated, Jean-Claude was seated with Brigitte. Here is a photo of that luncheon, okay? Not Jean-Michel, not the person they allege is Jean-Michel. For whatever reason, he was not seated with his siblings. Now, that's in French. The bottom, it says, this was published, by the way, in 2023. Interestingly enough, in Paris Match, and they were speaking about the Trogneau family, and they declined to mention that Jean-Michel, as they're telling us now, was at this inauguration, not sitting down at this table with his relatives, not sitting down with his brother, not sitting down with Brigitte. And what it says down there is at the table of Brigitte, her brother, Jean-Claude, and loved ones. Okay, interesting. Maybe he needed some fresh air. Who knows? Maybe he didn't want to sit there. Maybe they've got a strange relationship. But let me tell you, it's going to get even stranger at the 2022 inauguration, because scrubbing through the footage, I once again recognize that Jean-Michel is not standing anywhere near the family for the speech. Was he late again? I don't know, my friends. I'm going to show you this because even more awkward is the fact that when Emmanuel finishes his speech and does the walk, he goes over to the family section. Here he is. And he makes a concerted effort to kiss and hug everyone alongside Brigitte. You'll see Brigitte just a pace behind him, intentionally pausing to kiss and hug all the family members. You can see them. They start leaning in. They come out. Look at, mwah, love you. Oh, let's take our time here. Tefan looking so proud. Now he's not walking with anyone but Brigitte. I'm not exactly sure who that guy is, but what we're seeing here are nephews, cousins. We're able to confirm who all of these people are. This is clearly the family section. And once again, I want to be clear, it's both sides of the family that are standing in this section. It's not just the Macrons. It is also obviously Brigitte's family. And you're going to see that. I'm just going to let this play because it's important for you to recognize the differences here. This, by the way, in case you want to look this up yourself, is at the 43-minute mark of the inauguration. He starts going through his family. Now you're seeing Laurent, another child of Brigitte, okay, kissing her kids. And now behind you have who is supposed to be his mother, biological mother, Dr. Frances Nogue, who spends her time helping transgendered individuals get new IDs. This is the family section, okay? There is no question. The person they allege is Jean-Michel, for whatever reason, once again, does not want to stand with his family, okay? You fast forward. So that, again, is the 43-minute mark. Then you have to fast forward all the way up to the 51-minute mark to see him finally approaching Jean-Michel. And a couple of things I'm going to point out to you. Now, this is the screenshot where the legal team had the audacity to say, in the same frame, he's in the same photo as his sister Brigitte. What they left out was that Brigitte completely ignores him. I mean, completely does not say a word to the individual that is supposed to be her brother. Let's watch this together and watch how awkward Emmanuel Macron is with this individual. So you are seeing this if you're on audio. That's her brother. That's supposed to be Jean-Michel. Okay. They won't answer that for sure, but that's supposed to be who they're trying to make us believe is her brother. Nothing said. Emmanuel, Brigitte just completely, oh, there's the frame where they're trying to oh, she's right there with her brother. Says not a word, okay? You can go back and watch this. I did not make this up. Look, it just walks right by. Who would do this to their brother on Inauguration Day? Emmanuel Macron now. I feel like if I was in the presence of my brother-in-law, I'd feel like I must go up to him first, right? I better go up to him first. And then Emmanuel's like, oh, okay, I have to say something a little friendly, goodbye, and that's it. Okay, now let's pause that frame. Who's he standing with? Let's back up a little bit if you can, Mark. See that guy in the background? You want to know who he's standing with? David Rothschild. Jean-Michel is standing with David Rothschild. Well, I'm truly amazed by this because Jean-Michel didn't have a career in banking. Jean-Michel may have had a career in baking, but not banking, right? He's supposed to be from the family of chocolatiers. He's never left Amiens. We can't find any evidence of him having left Amiens. So what's he doing? What's his relation to David Rothschild? Why is he standing there? And please just make sense of it. Again, I'm just a regular old person. I got nothing but street smarts, but I got to tell you, my entire family is all the way down there. And I've decided not to sit with them, not to stand with them, but to be by myself with security and David Rothschild. Ladies and gentlemen, what the hell is going on? What's going on? Do you feel convinced that's a family member? Nope. Brigitte, once again, doesn't want Jean-Michel at her table. They were so close when she got married to Andre Louis. Please, I need you to be the best man. So close when he got married to Veronique Drew. It must have been a massive family falling out that makes it so that even when he's at the inauguration, he doesn't stand with the family. It just must have been an absolute disaster of a family falling out. And again, what do the Rothschilds have to do with Amiens? I just find this to be an incredible theme here. So what does this all mean? What does this all mean? Well, what it means is that, unfortunately, guys, I can't answer these questions for you, and neither at this moment can Xavier Poussard. But what it means is that for the first time, rather than the entire world being told by the mainstream media, being gaslit by the mainstream media to believe that there was nothing here, and Candace was having postpartum psychosis by looking into the story. Now millions and millions of people worldwide are going to look into this story. Millions have watched this series. Millions are emailing. Millions are investigating. And someone somewhere knows something. Someone somewhere saw something. Someone somewhere may be able to find a photo of Jean-Michel Nogue in the archives of the medical centers that he worked at throughout his illustrious career. Someone somewhere maybe recognizes which Jean-Michel that is, okay? Someone somewhere perhaps knows the answer to the mystery of what happened to Brigitte Macron. Where is Brigitte Macron? Was Brigitte Macron given a different name? Did Brigitte Macron die young after having children? I don't know the answers to these questions. It's taken Xavier Poussard, and people like Natasha Ray almost a decade of their lives to get us to this point. Many of them giving up their freedoms. Natasha Ray has been in and out with a cancer diagnosis, being tortured by the Trogno mafia, as I would describe it, because they act like a mafia when you start prying into this. We will legally abuse you if you start asking these questions, because that's what we'd rather do than answer anything. They have given up a decade of their lives to researching this, and now we have the ability to crack this wide open. And so if you have information about this family, maybe you're somebody sitting in Algeria, and you're going, yeah, no, I remember him. Yeah, what goes on in Algeria at this time? Maybe you went to school with Jean-Michel Macron. Maybe you are in the French military and you see something strange about access to his files, because there is a file. There is a military file that is being locked down as it pertains to Jean-Michel Macron. Again, something that is supposed to be made available to the public that they won't make available. And they just want to gaslight us about that. He's just so private. So private, but he does go to the inauguration, but so private he doesn't want to stand with the family or be involved with them. He'd rather stand with David de Rothschild. Help me out, guys. If you have information, please send it to info@CandaceOwens.com. It is my instinct. Yes, I agree with those of you that are commenting right now that we are looking potentially at incest. That is what in my gut feels. It has to be a secret so big that it would make them react in this way, because it is a type of violence to treat journalists like this. It is a kind of emotional violence to do these sorts of things, and they do it as though they know that vice is nice, but incest is best, and things should be kept within the family. Anyways, you guys, before I get into answering some of your questions, I want to remind you about our last sponsor, Nimi Skincare. You guys know I absolutely love them. I'm always promoting them on my Instagram. They're really a wonderful company. If you are ready to maintain the new year, new me momentum, and you're looking for a good skincare regimen, from gentle formulas to luxurious treatments, Nimi offers everything you need to keep your skin glowing. Right now, you can use code Candace10 at checkout to enjoy 10% off your order. Whether you're pampering yourself or surprising a loved one, now is the perfect opportunity to try Nimi's transformative skincare at a great price. Nimi Skincare isn't just another beauty brand. It's a celebration of faith, family, and freedom. Proudly made in the USA. If you're looking for something extra gentle, Nimi's clean, fragrance-free formulas are ideal for sensitive skin and those that are seeking a pure approach to self-care. So use code Candace10 today at NimiSkincare.com. That's spelled Nimi Skincare.com. Promo code Candace10 and you will save 10% on your purchase. So give yourself or someone special that gift of glowing, refreshed skin. Go strong into 2025. NimiSkincare.com, promo code Candace. I also want to add here, guys, if you appreciate this series, we've kept this obviously entirely free. So much work has gone into this. It would mean the world to me if you're watching this right now and you just took a couple of seconds to go to CandaceOwens.com, buy some gear. You can buy a Candace Standis cup, and we've got different colors available. Everything is fake and gay, because it is, fake and 90s gay. It's one way you can support us. You can also buy my upcoming book, which is about feminism. Go to CandaceOwens.com, and you will actually get a discount on buying available for pre-order. Make him a sandwich. You can also just give a gift, sign up, get into my vaccine series. It's a whole another rabbit hole to jump down for parents to understand what is happening to children in vaccines and to learn more about the medical mafia and people that are waking up to the fact that there is a medical mafia. I would love it if you supported us in any capacity so that we can continue to keep this important information free without putting it behind a paywall, something that I just never envisioned doing. I mean, how could you talk about a story that involves incest and children and the criminal activities of government and then do a teaser and put it behind a paywall? I want these topics to stay free. And we've been able to do this in large part thanks to the people around the world that are supporting us in whatever capacity. And so if you can, I'm basically asking you to head to CandiceOwens.com and donate whatever you can, buy whatever you can to support, and just show that you really enjoyed this series. That would be amazing. All right, guys, getting into some of your questions that are coming in right now, which I hope that I'm equipped to answer. This person writes, just got my Becoming Brigitte book in today. I can't wait to dive in. Thank you and your team for all of the great work that you guys do. Honestly, guys, this series, podcast form, is one fraction of the work that Xavier Poussard has done and has put into his book. Way more pedo criminals that I could have brought up, and just thought, okay, we want to keep this series moving. You got to do that deep dive. I mean, even today, me telling you about the uncle, we hadn't even gotten to that point. And to see the success of this book, people that are already asking for rights to it in different languages. I'm getting emails on behalf of Xavier that are coming in. I'm just so happy for him because, like I said, his family, what a sacrifice. You just don't see journalists like that anymore who are willing to give up and fundamentally alter their lives to tell a truth and to stand up against true power, true systemic power and abuse. Nadia is giving us tons of vomit emojis, just speaking about the topic of incest. We are right there with you, and it is unbelievable to hear someone just say that on stage and admit that freely. Ali says, Candice, the media poisoned my mind against you for so long. I am truly sorry, but I am here now and staying because you are one of the most elegant and inspirational people I've ever heard. Thank you for always speaking truth. Totally forgiven. I know so many people have heard lies about me. Last year, when I began looking into the story, it seems to be one of the points where everything turned around and they just started trying to tell people that I was literally Adolf Hitler. Like, that is the storyline. A couple of weeks ago, right before we started this story, they then came out and tried to convince the public that I was inspiring school shootings. I mean, it has been insane to see what the media will do to someone when they inch closer to a truth. And I think all of us wake up at a different moment and begin to question our relationship with the media. Mine's happened a little earlier than yours, Ali, but I had that moment too. I believed everything that I read because it almost... you would be crazy to think that the media is actually protecting evil and attacking good. But that is the circumstance that we find ourselves in today. We recognize that, and it's a beautiful thing to wake up to it, actually, and to have the humility to admit that you are wrong. Not a lot of people have the humility. They just go, oh, I've said this for years, so I have to just keep saying a thing. So welcome. I'm happy to have you here. Waves just writes, you're amazing. Thank you guys for these compliments. I need them today. I was so tired today. You have these days when you're pregnant where you're just like, I just can't do it. And I was having that kind of a morning, and now I feel great and amazing. Mikkel writes, Friday guesses, fake moon landing, Manson murders, Epstein, MLK. Okay, so I have announced that tomorrow I will be announcing my next series, and it's a big one. We're not going to start it tomorrow, but I'm going to announce it tomorrow, so you're not going to want to miss Friday's episode. And she's guessing moon landing, Manson murders, Epstein, MLK, JFK, Obama's birth certificate. Love you so much. I love all of those guesses. You will have to wait and see. Allison just wrote that. Allison actually just donated to the show, so just thank you for that, Allison. We see that coming through. Keely writes, hi, Candice. Thanks for your incredible journalism. During the interview, Xavier said Mimi had a falling out with the fam. Has no one spoken to her since? I feel, though shady, that she may have the info that we need. She is currently going through trial. She's potentially going to be convicted. It had a huge scandal. I remember reading about it vaguely, but it involves like Nicolas Sarkozy. It's insane what she was doing to get blackmail, just right up her alley. You know what I mean? And so you can look into that. If you actually just look up Mimi Marchand, you can follow that case. I don't have an update for you right off the top of my head, but she is in it. And yes, of course, they would have necessarily had to have distanced themselves, as they are still pretending that everyone around them is a criminal. It's just not them, which is pointedly ridiculous. Brian writes, wow, there it is. The gene pool is so mixed and confused in both the Trogno and Macron families that they are difficult to individually identify. And yes, that is the point, I believe. KH writes, Macron was live on TikTok earlier. All I saw in the comments was your name over and over. Fantastic. That is fantastic. I cannot wait to go find that. He is in a PR crisis, trying to smile his way through it. It's not going to work. This scandal is now officially too big. And in my opinion, Emmanuel Macron needs to step down from office because you have lied repeatedly to the French people. You have harassed journalists. You are a monster, and not a monster of your own doing. You were targeted when you were a child, and a part of me feels bad for you, but you are damaged goods, and what you have done is unforgivable as a leader of a country. What you are doing is unforgivable, and no one takes you seriously anymore. He's actually doing America soon, and it's just ridiculous to pretend that he has any power. You know, whatever shadow is behind you, fly it over so they can have a conversation with President Trump. We know that you were created. You are not real. You have no thoughts of your own. You are the Manchurian candidate, and you have absolutely no power. And that's why I didn't fear you when you sent a letter, because you are an absolute nobody in my book. And what I sense is your fear of being seen. And what terrifies me is that people described you, your own people described you as almost psychopathic during COVID, like you were enjoying harming people. And I wonder how much your childhood being groomed by the person that you are married to impacted that. Lastly, Eddie writes, I found an interview of Brigitte talking, and it sounds exactly like the mystery trans person in your previous video. You are batting 1,000, Candace. It is not me. It is the French people. I am blessed that Xavier brought this to me, and I am blessed that I have the courage to look at something and be, maimed and caricatured and called crazy by the media, and it actually only commits me further to that cause, because I know what the media is. And I feel grateful. I genuinely feel honored that this audience has grown, that you guys trust me to bring you stories that might sound crazy in the beginning. Trust me, tomorrow's is going to sound crazy in the beginning, but to trust me to then unfold it for you. And at our core, what all of these stories have in common is that you will recognize the media for what it is. It is an evil entity that is not protecting the people. It is the exact opposite. It is protecting the globalist power structure. And so thank you guys for trusting me with that. Obviously, we will be here tomorrow. Please head to CandaceOwens.com and support our independence. And we'll see you then.